You are listening to Parenting Our Future with certified parent coach Robin McMahon, author of The Yelling Cure and founder of Parenting for Connection. My podcast is all about providing you with the tools and solutions you need in your parenting so you can create the family you always wanted. For more information on my book and other resources, check out yellingcurebook.com. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. It's Robin McMahon here. Welcome to Parenting Our Future. Today's show is brought to you by a very special product and a beautiful woman who I am happy and honored to know and to have on this podcast episode today. I have Elaine Tan Comeau, who is the founder of Daysies. Now, she is no mere mortal. She is not only a mom to 3 beautiful kids. She's a wife. She is a former school teacher. She is an entrepreneur and actually a certified lifesaver. In that, her product, Easy Daisy, solves problems for so many parents. And we're going to talk about the problems that she solves, because these are problems that you listening right now have and have had, and we're going to give you all the solutions for them. And I just want you to know how special Elaine is. She is known around the world for her work. She's been in Forbes, Maclean's. She's been CBC, Fox, CTV, Canada Business Magazine, Financial Post, just to name a few. She is a multiple award winner in many different categories for her work. She is such a beautiful human being, and I am honored to have her here today. So welcome, Elaine. Thank you so much for being here.
Robin, I am so honored to be here, and thank you for all those kind words. And I'm going to say that the world is lucky to have you, because you are so generous in your sharing of wisdom and connecting people, and through your own experiences as a mom, as the lessons you have learned in your own journey. And I am excited to learn from you as well. So thank you for having me.
Awesome. Well, this is great. And this conversation has been in the works for a while, because when I started this podcast, you were top of my list for people to talk about. But fortunately and unfortunately for me, you are so in demand. So I'm just so happy that we could be here today to talk about how to make mornings easier, how to make getting out the door easier, how to make bedtime easier. That's what we're going to talk about in the first half of this episode. And then we're going to talk about learning from home, because school learning is going to continue for a little while. And as we record this, I think we will be starting week 10 of this quarantine and the COVID pandemic crisis and all of this. So what we're going to talk about today, some of it will be related to COVID-19, but it's really stuff for every day. Back when we are, back to normal, this will really apply, but it'll also apply now. So we're going to try to tackle both for you now and then in the future. So Elaine, tell me about Easy Daisies and what it's all about, because I know this is something that so many people need and may not know about. Please tell us, tell us.
Absolutely. Well, I was a school teacher, and I loved teaching. I loved teaching so much, and I fell in love with my class every year. And my grade 2 class, they sang at my wedding, and I can't get enough of it, and I miss it, actually. And so I knew what was working against my children. I actually started my teaching career in inner city schools, but I knew that 1 in 4 were coming with anxiety issues, 1 in 6 with learning disabilities, 1 in 2 from broken homes, 1 in 48 on the autism spectrum. The list goes on.
Wow.
And so with so many things working against my children, our children, it's a natural thing to come up with tools and figure out ways to set our children up for success. And so when I had parents ask me if I could make a daily visual schedule similar to something I had at the front of my classroom showing the shape of the day, just to help their kids get out the door faster in the morning, of course I did. And at one point, I had a grade 5 class where I had 12 children who were reading at a grade 1 level. And the point is that visuals are very important. When 85% of learning is done visually for children, they can't just follow by reading. And I think it's so important to have happy children, because when they show up happy, they want to show up for one. And when they are happy, they want to learn. And so we want to help set them up to be successful and happy, so that my grade 5 child who might be 10 years old and looks around the class and see everybody else is getting up, but he's still sitting there. Now he's feeling low and a little hard on himself because he doesn't get it. And everybody else is lining up because they're going to the gym or to the library. So having a visual indicator helped that little boy to say, oh, look, I know that we're going to be lining up soon. And he's in the line. He sees the photo, a picture of us going to gym or library. And that's all it is setting up children for success. And so I started doing these. I drew every single illustration simple enough for children who were non-readers, whether they were 2 or 12, to help follow along with their day. And I know that I can show you because you can see this, Robin. But those visuals, there's a purpose for why they are this color. This blue that I use for the magnets is the clinical color of blue that's the most soothing for children with anxiety. The length of the board is for training parents to understand that you don't want to list more than 5 to 7 tasks, because you don't want to overwhelm a child. When I have parents writing to me saying, well, I can't list the 27 things my 6-year-old needs to do. The board is too small. Well, no one wants to see 26 things they have to do, not even me. And so there's a to-do column and a done column, and that kinesthetic move for a child when they pick it up from to-do to done is like getting a pat on the back. It's how we as adults feel when we cross off a to-do list, that there are things to do in a day, and getting it done is the reward. And so when parents come in and they ask me, well, how do I get my kids to listen? I understand that. But however, I think we're asking the wrong question. The question should be, how do I get my kids to do what they're supposed to do? Mm-hmm. Right? Because we could tell them over and over, and they hear nothing. Right now we start to raise our voice. And I know you are the queen of talking about why we shouldn't yell. And in a classroom, when I have 22 6-year-olds, I never raise my voice, because I know I have lost the battle if I have raised my voice. But if I have a visual indicator in my classroom, I can just I say, excuse me, and I just tap and I point to what needs to be done, because that visual cue just triggers a reminder in their own brain that, oh, that's right, I have to do this. And without me saying, hello, get in line, or children, put your socks on, tie your shoes. And that's exhausting. It is very exhausting to do. And so a visual indicator just helps when a child can see, okay, mommy wants me to have breakfast, and have breakfast, maybe I have to feed my fish and then brush my teeth, whatever it is that you want to show them, even if you're drawing your own. And I would recommend just starting with 2 things, maximum 3 things on your list to start, and celebrate the success. So when they are checking it off or moving it from the to-do to the done column, whatever it is, you're going to celebrate with them, because it is a big deal. You're teaching them intrinsic reward, that they're not getting paid $1, they're not getting a sticker or a candy, but that they did it. That accomplishment is going to teach them the reward of studying for their first spelling test in grade 1, or handing in that assignment in grade 10, that they did it. And it's a relief. It's like showing up for work and having a great accomplished day, because these are all life skills that build up towards adulthood, right? So it's never too young and never too late to start.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is something we have to teach our kids. Our kids don't naturally know about a schedule. They don't naturally know that, you wake up and that brush your teeth, wash your face, or, the order of things. That is not something kids are interested in. They want to play. They want to be cute and silly and distracted and distractible. And so what I love about this is the intrinsic reward. Because if you're only ever using rewards and punishments to manipulate your child's behavior, you never learn how to influence. You're not really teaching them, right, what to do, because that's just what's done, right? So I really, really like that. And so how would someone use this if they have multiple kids?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm so sorry. You asked me the Easy Daisy story, and I'm so sorry. And I got sidetracked because I get excited about talking about how we can help kids.
See, I got excited too. I forgot too. Okay, this is good. This is good.
I'm so sorry. And yes, so I made these visual schedules for many, many years for kids for free, just something I wanted to do for them because I love my students very much and their families. And then so I thought, okay, I've been making these for years for free. Maybe there's a product here. And I did the research. There was no product. That was a daily visual schedule. And so I did the research and I discovered it was going to cost me $1,400 to make my first batch of product. So I saved up by tutoring and selling crafts, and I made my first batch just here in Canada. And I launched it 2 days after my third baby was born.
Wow.
And then it somehow became the #1 back to school must have in parents magazine. And then stores started to call. And then the story went from there to having it in 2 stores to 50 stores to 1,500 stores across North America from off our kitchen table at one point. And then, yes, we did go on a show called Dragon's Den at one point.
Yeah, I was just going to say, not only that, but you were on Dragon's Den, which is like Shark Tank, right? Depending where you are. And you had a bidding war over your product. They loved it so much. That's incredible. Wow.
Thank you. Yes, it was a great learning experience. I think that anybody who prepares for pitching on an investor show or just to investors is the best business crash course that you could ever have, because you really have to know your business inside out, your 5-year plan, your exit strategy. You need to know it all. So highly recommend it if you want to know your business better.
Yeah, well, and it's so interesting because you've taken your role as a teacher and an entrepreneur, and really you teach a lot of entrepreneurs now with the Mompreneur Group and different things. So you really just can't stop teaching.
I love learning and I love sharing what I learn.
Yeah, that's so good. So can you tell me about multiple kids? Like, how would you use this if you've got different kids, different ages?
Absolutely.
All different personalities, right?
Absolutely. I do highly recommend that each one has their own schedule.
Yeah.
And of course, if you have a 4-year-old and then a 2-year-old, or a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old, one is great, because basically that 2-year-old and under just tags along, and we all go with the schedule of that older firstborn who may have to go to preschool or swimming lessons or music or whatever it is. That youngest one does come along, and they learn along as well. And they actually get excited to see the older siblings schedule, and they want one, they want to do it. And it's all about me first, me do it. And so that's great. That's a learning lesson. But when they start to get a little older, so now they are both in preschool and kindergarten, or grade 1 and grade 2, and moving on up to grade 6, having their own schedule gives them accountability and ownership, which is what you want them to do, is to have ownership. When they feel like that is their own schedule and that they help create it, and we could talk about that. There's an importance for children to believe that they are in charge of their day, because they do wake up with an intrinsic need to know what is happening next. Every child does. And so when they have a choice of certain things that would go on their schedule, and I apologize, I keep holding up mine, but you can have your own schedule.
You can see us on YouTube. So if you want to see what Elaine is holding up, then check us out on YouTube, Parenting for Connection on YouTube.
Perfect. And so whether you're making your own schedule, you can give choices, right? You can say, okay, well, after breakfast, you can have the choice of, and some children need this because they're like, no, I don't want to do that. No, I don't want to do that. And that is absolutely fine. So you're going to give them a choice. They're going to be your choices, mom, dad, parent, child care provider. You provide the choices so that you are okay with either choice. And then they choose, right? And they will take and say, oh, I'd rather feed the dog than empty the dishwasher, or whatever it is that you would have them do. But when they're choosing what goes on their schedule, then they feel in control, and they take that ownership and they will do it. I would not make it daunting. Again, I say start with 2-3 tasks, no more than 5 or 7. And that's just showing the shape of the day so that they don't have anxiety. And as we can talk about children with special needs, they thrive off of visual schedules. And it's hard on parents. And that's why you want to make sure it's something you can handle as well. Otherwise, it will give mom or dad anxiety as well. So you're going to put what you can on that schedule.
Well, and so that's really good. So I love that you have recognized the fact that our kids do need to know what's going on in their world day to day. And maybe we forget that sometimes, right? Because we're so busy in our own heads with all the stuff we have to get done. And our kids sometimes just come along for the ride, but to empower them with their own choices, but with their own way to see how the day is and what their role is in it. And then empower them like, look, you get to make your own lunch now. Like as they get older, the
Yeah,
tasks get a little bit more involved, right?
yeah,
And then you can
absolutely.
write your own ones down too, right? Because you've got blanks on
Yes,
there as
absolutely.
well.
Yeah, I love the emails I get. Like this one mom who wrote me, she's like, she was blown away. They set it up the night before, and she came down. Her son was dressed,
Oh,
ate breakfast, brushed his teeth, had his lunch packed in his bag, and his shoes on. And she just wanted to put that day in a time capsule because that has never happened in their entire lifetime of
wow.
5 years. That or a mom writing to me, she started her email with saying that her husband was forcing her to write to me. So that made me actually sit down to read this email. And she said
Yeah.
she was pregnant with her fourth child, and
Wow.
they picked up Easy Daisies, and they've used it for 2 weeks, and they are blown away that there's no more nagging in the morning. There's giggling when there used to be yelling, and the kids are having fun owning what they're supposed to do and feeding themselves breakfast, and they're sleeping in 20 minutes more each morning because of Easy Daisies. And I thought, okay, I need that on a t-shirt because
Yeah.
I'm not sleeping in 20 more minutes.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, good
Like
on
so when you
them.
create things, they have a life of their own and are used in unique and different ways you could have never imagined, right?
Yes, it has been a blessing. And I was speaking at a different conference just now. And I say conference very loosely because it was online with, it was 500 people,
Oh, wow.
but online. And I was talking about how we have to remember why we do what we do, because as an entrepreneur, as you understand, there are going to be late nights, and when I first started Easy Daisies, I was working off our kitchen table till about 3, 4, 5 in the morning,
Wow.
and then going to teach, and with 3 children under 5 years old, and highly do not recommend that at all. But it was remembering why we do it, and it was the emails like of a mom with 3 children under 7, all with autism, sharing that she doesn't have to talk all day long now because
Yeah.
Easy Daisies shows her children what to do. Or a mom sharing that her 9-year-old nonverbal, developmentally delayed daughter uses Easy Daisies as her words, and they have them in 3 different locations in their home because she does not speak, and and it improved the quality of life for her daughter. So
Wow.
those are my
Beautiful.
whys of
Well,
of
and I think, for anybody listening, can you imagine how good it would feel to get up and out
Mm,
the door without the fussing and the fighting and the tug of war and repeating and repeating and repeating, right?
yes, and it was funny because when I first started Easy Daisies, I wasn't even really using them for my own children. I was just making them for other people's children. But I had the test one on my fridge at home,
Mm.
and I remember coming downstairs one morning, and my uh, almost 5-year-old and almost 3-year-old, and I have a baby and a baby. But the 2 older ones both had their shoes on because they saw they had a play date after breakfast. They had their pajamas on, but they had their shoes on.
Oh,
That's so
yes.
great. That's so awesome.
Oh, that is so
One
sweet.
last battle, and who cares? We're gonna go in our pajamas.
Right? Oh, I love it. That is so good. Less battles, more joy. Like we all
Yes,
need that.
more joy.
Yeah, and here's what I want to add to this. One of the things that I talk to parents about all the time, because this is one of the number one questions, is it's really about transition. Like, how do we transition from
Yeah,
sleeping to action and from action to sleeping at nighttime, basically, right? And it's not an
absolutely.
easy transition for some of our kids, and
Yeah,
it's not for us because we're tired like the entire time, and in the morning we're tired for different reasons than we are at night. And what I really say to parents is that if you really want to set yourself up for success, to put the effort in on the front end, like put the effort in at the beginning. So, and I know you won't not, there's going to be people who don't want to hear this, but getting yourself ready first so that you can be there for your kids. And I always say, and and I'm sure you can relate to this and hopefully agree with this, is meeting your kids where they are, not where you think they should be, right? Kids develop, at different times and different stages, and there is an ebb and flow even in the development. One day they can do it, one day they need help. And so if you're ready there at the, willing and able to support your kids through it without judging them or criticizing them and saying, well, you didn't move the magnet to the other side. Like, come on, you got that magnet to do now, right? Like, you don't want to do that. You want to just nurture them, teach them, support them, connect with them. And I'll tell you what, just the connection itself will help to fill their cup. And just like you said, with happy kids are more settled. They have less anxiety. They're more agreeable, more willing to do what you have asked them to do, because their cup is filled, because their needs are being met. And that's what's really important, right? And recognizing that some of the times where there's the most struggle is where they need the connection the most. So it's like you almost have to lean into the discomfort of the moment. And I have done this many times where my whole entire body is vibrating because I need to get out the door. I need to go. I've got a meeting, a client, a podcast episode, something, and I do not want to do this right now. But I'm like, okay, this is the most important thing I have to do right now. I've got to lean into that discomfort, because I don't want to do what I've always done, which is yell at my kids, criticize them, get angry. It doesn't feel good. And I didn't want to do that anymore with my kids. I wanted a peaceful home. So it means I've got to change some of what I do and how I show up. Right? So all of that is important in all of this too. And when you can connect with your kids along the way, you also get to see where they're at developmentally. So it becomes easier for you to meet them where they are, right?
Absolutely. And I strongly agree with you. I do a parent talk and based on an acronym, and I don't have an acronym on the top of my head, but it does start with waking up before your children and having your you time, so that exactly what you said, so that you are ready. I know it doesn't sound fun for us to wake up an hour before our children wake up, but you will love it and crave that time. And when you've had that downtime for you, you're enjoying a hot cup of coffee, like not a cold cup of coffee that you put in, and like I still find my mug in the microwave occasionally. But when you have that morning, you are excited to see when your kids wake up, right? And our energy is absolutely contagious and transferable to our children. If we start off stressed, they will start off stressed, right? And so we want to start off happy and excited to see them, and they're going to be happy and excited to wake up and just start that day.
The reality is that whether you like it or not, you're going to have to put the effort in, because if you're not ready to go and you have, then you're going to put the effort in on the back end when you're yelling or you're frustrated or you're upset. And I can't think of anything more heartbreaking than everybody being mad. When you leave the house, you drop your kids off, you haven't made a connection with them, everybody's upset and crying. I have cried my way to work because it did not go the way I wanted it to. And we've got to be a bit proactive in the way we show up for our kids if we want it to go the way we want it to go. And the thing is it's worth the effort, because connecting with our kids there is just no better feeling than when they're fully connected with us, right?
Yeah. And that is what they're going to remember, how we connected, not the schedule, not all the things you put them into from extracurriculars. It is that connection. And I love that you mentioned filling their cups, right? And it does. It's so important that we as parents, the care providers, the person they trust most is the person filling their cup. Because as a school teacher, I've seen a lot of children come empty cupped. And
that's a good point. You've seen the other side of it. You've seen the kids that have left the car upset and crying and the morning wasn't good, and then you've seen them come to your class, and it's harder to learn, right? It's harder to stay focused.
Yeah, and they're already hard on themselves. They don't think much of their own abilities, it makes my heart very sad indeed.
Yeah. Well, it's huge. It's huge. So what about bedtime?
Well, I'm going to say there's one word that is so key and fundamental to all things, to mornings and bedtimes, and just getting kids cooperating and doing what they're supposed to do. It's called routine. And it's routine. Oh, the slides have opened. Routine.
For some people, that's a 4-letter word, and for some people, they love it. I love routine personally. So
Yes, so let's talk about the power of this magical word.
let's talk
It
about
is not new. It is not new. When you have a newborn baby, what do you do to help that newborn go to bed at night? Routine. What do you do all day long to make sure they have a good bedtime? Routine. And and it is just, how do we get kids out the door easily? Routine. And a
yeah.
classroom teacher with 22 6-year-olds, it's routine. So routine is very important, right? When we have our infant, right, this new cherished gift from the heavens to us, and we want to not die and like have zero sleep through the night.
Mhm.
How do we get that child down? We build a structured routine, right? Whether it is feeding them and giving them a bath, and then putting a fresh diaper on, and then singing a song and stroking their back and walking away. And we do this repeatedly, night after night. Watch that baby start sleeping through the night. And it does take work, right? But it is establishing that routine, and they know it. And my oldest, who started babysitting like years ago, she was babysitting babies, and it is about routine. And she was amazed that she could just do what that mom said, give the bottle, change the diaper, and put the baby down and just walk away, and the baby sleeps for 7 hours.
Mm.
And that mom established routine that even someone else, my daughter, could step in and do that routine and help that infant who doesn't recognize my daughter, but because of the routine was
Mhm.
able to go to bed. Now, when our child is 6 or 9, or I'm going to start with elementary school age, routine is still very important. So if we're talking bedtime, that means establish what your family routine is. And it is about our children. We are parents, so it is our children first, and not finishing watching that binge watching Netflix show you're watching, or that business call, but helping our children to establish that bedtime routine first so that they can eventually do it on their own. So whether it's, your dinner time, and then you have a game that you play together, or
Mhm.
they finish off their homework, and then perhaps there's a small snack that they're going to have, and then they're going to brush their teeth. Um, and of course, if you have bath time, and you incorporate whatever it is that is your regular thing you want them to do. But whatever it is, that those last 3 steps, you should try to keep it the same so that they understand, okay, so I have to brush my teeth, I get to read a book, and then one of my parents are going to come and lie down beside me and check in, and then they're going to leave.
Mhm.
So they get that in their minds, and then they establish that whatever it is that works for you, you're going to keep it and keep it going, and then it will just do wonders, right? Routine.
I love it. I love it. That's it. I mean, really, it's bang on. And when I talk to parents that are struggling at bedtime, that's the first thing I ask, like, what's your routine? You've got to have a wind down. They've got to settle their bodies, their minds. And so having a really good routine that, could include a bath or a massage or some aromatherapy, some quiet books, like let's turn off the screens, let's slowly let them transition in. But bedtime is also a time of connection for kids where they need connection. That's why they become thirsty philosophers at night, because they want to talk to you, right? And I've often thought, like, why couldn't you have told me all this when you got home from school? But nope, they want to tell you when their heads hit the pillow. And you know what? That creates a lot of anxiety for parents, because they want to do what you said. They want to go back to Netflix, or they want to go clean up after dinner. They want to go back to work. They want to do a million different things. And
Mhm.
what I want to say to parents is that we're talking minutes, just
Yeah.
a few more minutes.
Yes,
Do you have 10 minutes? You have 5 minutes to be with your child because they need you to be there, and read another book? Like, we can do
absolutely.
that, right? And that's leaning into that discomfort again. But wow, does it ever send a message to your child that you are a safe place, that you are
Absolutely.
an adult that cares and wants to be with them? That is everything to a child.
It's like a good book, right? You can predict it, and children need that predictability, because it takes away the anxiety when they know this is the routine, and they know that, it ends with mom or dad coming over and lying down beside them. It's like a happy ending to the book, and they want to get to that ending, right? And so, yes, it takes part of our time, but you know what? Our children grow way too fast. And I know that sounds like a dream for parents of 2-year-olds and 4-year-olds and 6-year-olds. It passes so quickly, and you will crave those moments where you just want to lie down beside your child and talk about their day, because those will be gone, and because life gets busy for everybody. And so treasure it. And I love what you said. It just takes minutes. But yes, having at least 3 steps towards that bedtime that's consistent is like the chapters towards the good ending of a book. They want to get right to the end. So yeah, very important.
You're currently listening to Parenting Our Future. I'm parent coach Robin McMahon, and I hope you're enjoying the show so far. Did you know that by the age of 6, many girls believe that they're less smart than boys? And only 19% of children's books showcase women with jobs or career ambition? As a parent, are you looking for stories to inspire your little girl to pursue her dreams without limits? Well, Goodnight Stories for Rebel Girls podcast is an expansion of its best-selling book, which tells hundreds of bedtime stories about the lives of extraordinary women from the past and the present. Designed to close the confidence gap in young girls, these stories explore the talent and results of incredible women across every possible field, from astronauts, chefs, trombonists, judges, scientists, and tennis players. From Jane Goodall to Simone Biles. So, to inspire the rebel girl in your life, go and find Goodnight Stories for Rebel Girls on your favorite podcast player. Now, back to the show. Well, I think what you have shared so far has been awesome with morning, leaving, bedtime. I want to pick your brain for a moment, though, about learning from home, because right now that's what we're facing. And, this might be the start of a new way of doing some things. Maybe there will be more at home. We don't really know. Let's hope things go right back to normal. But if not, like, as a teacher and as a mom of 3 different ages, how do you handle this? How do you do this?
Okay, well, I have an acronym for this because I am a school teacher in my heart. I'm still always a school teacher. And I always explain things through acronyms because it's just easier for people to remember. So it's CALM, CALM, CALM. And what that stands for is create, align, lighten, and make. And so what I'm saying here is, when you are working from home, or even if you're not working from home, but your children are learning from home, you want to create 3 different things. You want to create a schedule, and I will say that over and over, is your children need to know what the shape of their day looks like, right? And the government has laid out for us that no, they aren't supposed to sit there and do school for 7 hours. No, 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 no. But if they are in elementary school, it should be 1 or 2 hours a day. If they are in middle school grades, it should be 2 to 3 hours a day. If they are in high school, it's 3 hours per subject per day. Per week. 3 hours per subject per week. Okay? Per week. Yes.
Wait a second.
Not a 15-hour day. I don't want a 15-hour day. Yeah. But yes, so we still use it as a guideline, because it's just a guideline. And so creating that schedule so they understand, okay, well, you have a video chat with your teacher at 9. And so let's take a snack break at 10, or whatever it is. And then you want them to utilize their morning hours best, because that is where learning is most productive with their active brains that will get tired. And there's nothing wrong with throwing a little 15-minute recess break in there, where we do a fitness station, because my 2 younger ones have to have PE. So we actually have 4 stations in our house where we run up and down the stairs, do jumping jacks, sit-ups, and high kicks, or it's a free station, but we do it. And actually all 4 of my 3 kids and I, we rotate and do these stations. It's hilarious, but I get my steps in, so that's okay.
That's all important steps. Yep.
And so create a schedule.
Right.
And we've talked about the importance of schedules already, but it just helps the kids to stay focused, and they feel most important that they have accomplished something. Because otherwise, if you don't see it, you don't feel like you've done anything. You can fill your day with a bunch of stuff
Mm.
and feel like you've accomplished nothing. So let's give them the sense of accomplishment by giving them a schedule that they can see that they've done a lot of things. It's a great feeling, and you just keeps you motivated. Number two is create a workspace. So the importance of that is it it's a mindset of when they go to that space, they are now going to do school work. When they need a break, they're not going to have their break there. They need to get up, remove themselves, and go have their break somewhere else. Because when they come back, they know this is the spot where they are going to do their work. Very important. So um, just creating that space,
Mm.
creating a schedule helps them just to create for themselves a self-motivation.
Yeah, and it's structure of your day, right? Because
Absolutely.
it feels still like it's spring break, but it's not spring break, right? So that is, I really like that. Really like
So
that.
A is for align. So you want to align a learning to their interests, because if it's on you to be teaching your child, because there might be a lack of support elsewhere, then you want to align learning with their interests. So if they're into Star Wars, let's watch uh, a part of Star Wars, and then let's talk about it, or write about it, or whatever the age group is of your child. Perhaps you have magazines, and you get them to cut out 3 pictures, and then they have to write a story about that based on, make up an ending, a different ending to that what you had just shown them. So find different ways, right? There's so many creative ways to do that, but aligning it to their interests is very important. And gosh, you get to learn about your kid, right? And that's so cool. Like, I know so much more about Minecraft now.
Yeah.
I love, I do. I love Minecraft. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah.
And so you just learn more about your child. L is for um, lighten. And what I mean by lighten is lighten your expectations, but don't lower them. So you're lightening them because you can't do everything. They definitely can't do everything. And don't expect that of them, right? Come on. They're kids,
Oh,
and
right.
we're just humans. And so still have your expectations. Lighten them means make fewer of them, but never, ever, ever lower your expectations of your child, because they are fantastic and brilliant and smart, and they can do so much more than we can even imagine, right?
Mm.
And then that M is for make. Um, I say make. This goes back to the schedules, but make make school time. Like, so that means
Mm.
if it's not important to you, it's not going to be important to them. So you're going to make that school time. So that means like if you were working, you'd make office hours. You're going to make
Yeah.
school hours.
Mm.
But you're going to make make time for you to be interested in what they are learning. Children do so much more. They do better in school and in schooling when we make the effort to show interest in what they are learning. So that means checking in and say, hey, what's this project you're working on? Or who are you working with? Or who are you talking with right now? Who are you playing Minecraft with right now?
Yeah.
And taking the interest and saying, oh, that's so cool, take me on a tour through your virtual house or
Mm.
your farm you just made. My daughter has to create a zoo with Minecraft for school, and so we talk about that and how to spend the budget that she has of $2 million to buy her cages and animals. And who knew that a cage costs $150,000?
Wow.
Right. But then you're talking about favorite animals, and so taking an interest
Yeah.
makes them so proud of what they are doing and trying to do, right? It's not even about the letter grade, it's about being so interested in the journey of what they are learning.
Mm.
And then they are excited to try their best and to produce the result that you hope. But it's not about the grade, it's about that journey of helping them love learning.
Oh, that is so great. And our kids are natural learners. They love learning, but sometimes we have a really great way of killing their love of learning through putting too many expectations, too much, just we just can ruin it. So this is really beautiful. So the acronym is CALM. It's create a schedule, create a workspace, align. So align their learning to their interests, what they're interested in, then lighten your expectations, not lower your expectations. And then make school hours, my dedicated school hours. And I just think that makes so much sense. I've learned from you hearing this. This is really, really good. And I think as parents, we have to adjust our mindset too. We have to put our worry aside. We have to not be anxious about things. And we need to just realize that this is a unique time and that this does not equal their success or failure in life or in school moving forward. There will be reviews when kids get back to school, and everybody will get back on track. So try your best not to let the worry and anxiety seep in, because that will not serve you. And what I like about every step of CALM is that you're talking about connection and connecting with your kids. And no matter what, that makes them feel good, important, and worthy. And that's what we want to raise our kids to feel like. So they go into this world as amazing human beings without baggage of feeling less than, and,
Absolutely. And I'm so sorry, Robin, I left out the most important part of the M is to make it consistent.
Oh, make it consistent. Oh, that's great. Okay. I'm going to put this in the show notes if that's okay with you.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I think this will really help everyone. And I think this helps day to day as well. I think this is fantastic because look, we're going to be facing homework eventually later, and this will help with homework and that sort of thing. Elaine Tan Comeau, I just love you. You are a beautiful human being, and I am lucky to know you. And I can't say enough good things about you. You have been just one of the most generous people I have ever met. And for everyone listening, I wish you could know Elaine like I do. She is just one of the most sparkly human beings alive. And she wears her heart on her sleeve, and she really cares about parents. She cares about kids. She cares about everybody, and her work and what she does and her Easy Daysies schedules. Look, if it can help you in your life, I really recommend that you look for these products, and I'll share links to them in the show notes as well. Can you let people know where they can find Easy Daysies?
Oh, absolutely. And thank you for your very kind and generous words. You are so lovely, Robin. Easy Daysies can be found on Amazon. They can be found at Staples, many independent toy and bookstores, and on my website. And so anywhere is great. I know that Amazon does free shipping, and so does Staples. So those are great places to go. And it has been an honor for me to be on this podcast. So I'm just so grateful for you and for how you just share wisdom and love to all these families. And I'm just honored to be a part of this journey today. So thank you.
Thank you for listening to this edition of my podcast, Parenting Our Future. I'm parent coach Robin McMahon, and if you're enjoying this podcast, please share it with someone who you think might also need to hear this message. And don't forget to subscribe, and if you like my work, I'd be grateful if you gave me a 5-star rating. For those of you who like my content and want more, visit me at yellingcurebook.com to get your copy of my book and to find other resources to help you. Until next time, I am wishing you and your family peace and connection.